general in 4 states are weighing their legal options against Target after a security breach that affected as many as 40 million customers. The story keeps growing and growing. The Los Angeles Times also reports angry consumers have started filing lawsuits, claiming the company waited too long to disclose the problem. The company says consumers have overwhelmed the hotline it has set up and that it was not prepared for the volume of calls. Target has offered free credit monitoring services for customers who may have been exposed to fraud. Meanwhile, because of this Target security breach, Chase is putting temporary restrictions on its debit cards. About 2 million cardholders are being told they cannot get cash withdrawals of more than $100 per day. And the debit card purchases are limited to $300 per day. The limits are in effect until cards are replaced. Credit cards are not affected. Now, if you shopped at Target between Black Friday and December 15th, your credit card information could have been taken. So joining me now with more on how you can protect yourself is John Ulzheimer, who's a credit expert with CreditSesame.com. It is really good to see you, sir, and I know folks have so many questions. So let's start with right now. If I shopped at Target during those dates, what can I do now?
What you should do now is, especially if you used a debit card, is you should call your financial institution today and have them reissue it.
Okay.
Because if your information, it is a fact, it was stolen. And normally these hackers will do something like this just more so as a way to show off and just to show how clever they are.
They can do it and get in.
Not this time. The information almost immediately started hitting the black market websites for sale, and people have already reported theft, not only on debit cards but also on credit cards. And so in this type of scenario, you have to act immediately because, first off, it's Monday, the banks are open today. Tomorrow's Tuesday, banks are half day. Wednesday's Christmas, they're not open at all. And I promise you, after Christmas, you're going to be busy worrying about other things. You should get on the phone today and get this done.
And now, and another thing you mentioned too is that people, a lot of us immediately went on, checked our accounts. Okay, everything's fine, and then just think it's fine. But you need to keep checking over and over again.
Absolutely. Just because you have not been breached or the theft hasn't taken place against your account today certainly doesn't mean that these fraudsters are not going to do it tomorrow or the next day or in 6 months from now. That's why it's so important to either get credit cards reissued or debit cards reissued, because you just don't know when the fraud is going to happen.
Something you mentioned too, which maybe I'm ignorant, but I'd never heard about this, is that you can get your credit report frozen. What does that mean? How do you do that, and why might we want to do that?
Right. In Georgia, you have the right to freeze your credit reports. It's going to cost the grand total of $3 per credit bureau. So that's $9 bucks. It's absolutely, and it's not reoccurring. It's absolutely worth it. Essentially what that does is it takes your credit report out of circulation, and no new lender can access it, which means no new lender is going to underwrite a new account while they can't look at your credit report. It's a little cumbersome because you also can't open credit in your own name. You have to essentially thaw the credit report, opposite of freezing, of course. And then once you thaw it, the lender can pull it, and then it refreezes and prevents any future lenders from accessing it. That is proactive credit protection. The reactive credit protection is what Target is doing, which is saying, hey, look, we'll just pay for you to monitor your credit report. Not sure how terribly effective that is, because that lets you know something after it has already happened. It doesn't prevent it from happening.
You mentioned to me earlier, too, that you always prefer a credit card purchase to a debit card purchase. Why is that?
No doubt. And I realize that budgetary controls and interests don't happen with debit cards. But your protections under federal law are infinitely better on a credit card than they are on it. Absolutely. Your liability for credit card fraud is capped at $50, and all 4 of the credit card networks, Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and Amex, all have zero liability policies already. So your liability for a credit card is nothing. A debit card, that's your money that's being taken, and that you're going to have to argue to get it back. And while that money is gone, you have other transactions that may not be clearing, and that may be causing bounce checks, over limit fees. Credit card, that kind of stuff doesn't happen.
Wow, terrific information, sir. Thank you so much. Happy holidays to you.
Same
and of course,
you.
for more information on protecting your financial information or on CreditSesame.com, you can visit myFoxAtlanta.com and look in the Good Day Atlanta section.